TEAS 7 Science, Respiratory System. Follow the path of air inside the body. If you can, close your eyes for a moment. Now picture yourself taking a slow breath in. The air does not simply appear inside your lungs. It enters through an opening. It moves through a passage. It travels down into the chest. It branches again and again, like a tree. And at the very end of that tree, the air reaches tiny air sacs called alveoli. That is where the real exchange happens. Oxygen moves into the blood. Carbon dioxide moves out of the blood. And with every breath, your body keeps that exchange going. Today, we are going to follow the respiratory system as a journey, not as a list of random terms, not as a set of disconnected body parts. We are going to picture the path of air, from the nose and mouth to the pharynx and larynx, down the trachea, into the bronchi, through the bronchioles, and finally into the alveoli. Once you can picture that pathway, the respiratory system becomes much easier to understand. So let's begin with one breath. The big job of the respiratory system. Start with the main purpose. Your body's cells need oxygen. They use oxygen to help make energy. And as they make energy, they produce carbon dioxide as a waste product. So oxygen needs to come in. Carbon dioxide needs to go out. That is the central job of the respiratory system. It brings oxygen into the body, and it removes carbon dioxide from the body. But the respiratory system does more than just move air. It also helps protect the body from particles and pathogens. It helps regulate body temperature. It helps with smell. And it helps produce speech. Still, for the TEAS exam, keep the big picture clear. The respiratory system is mainly about gas exchange. Oxygen in. Carbon dioxide out. Now picture the organs that make this possible. The nose, the mouth, the nasal cavity, the sinuses, the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea, the bronchial tree, and the lungs. All of these structures work together to move air from the outside world to the deepest parts of the lungs. Conducting zone and respiratory zone. Now imagine the respiratory system as two main areas. The first area is the conducting zone. This is the pathway. Its job is to move air. Air passes through the nose or mouth, then through the pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and bronchioles. These structures conduct air. They guide it. They carry it deeper into the lungs. But gas exchange does not happen in most of this pathway. The second area is the respiratory zone. This is where gas exchange actually happens. At the end of the small airways are the alveoli, the tiny air sacs where oxygen and carbon dioxide move between air and blood. So remember it this way. The conducting zone is the road. The respiratory zone is the destination. The conducting zone carries the air. The respiratory zone exchanges the gases. Following the path of air. Now let's follow one breath. Picture air entering through the nose. The air moves into the nasal cavity. Inside the nasal cavity, the air begins to change. It is warmed. It is moistened. And some particles are trapped before they can travel deeper. Now the air moves backward into the throat. This area is called the pharynx. The pharynx is like a shared hallway. Air passes through it on the way to the lungs. Food also passes through it on the way to the digestive tract. From the pharynx, the air moves into the larynx. The larynx is often called the voice box. This is the area involved in producing sound. When air moves through the larynx, it can help create vibration for speech. Now the air enters the trachea. Picture the trachea as a firm tube running down the neck into the chest. It is not a soft, collapsing tunnel. It is supported by rings of cartilage that help keep the airway open. Now the trachea reaches the chest and splits into two large branches. One branch goes toward the right lung. The other goes toward the left lung. These are the primary bronchi. From here, the airway begins to branch like a tree. The primary bronchi divide into smaller bronchi. Those divide again and again. The branches become narrower and narrower until they become bronchioles. Now imagine walking deeper into a forest of tiny airways. The path keeps getting smaller. The branches keep dividing. And finally, at the end of the smallest passages, you reach the alveoli. Tiny air sacs. This is where the air has been trying to go all along. So hold this order in your mind. Nose or mouth. Pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, alveoli. One more time. Nose or mouth. Pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, alveoli. Do not memorize it as a flat list. Picture the air moving downward, in through the face, through the throat, down the windpipe, into the lungs, through branching tubes, and finally into tiny air sacs. The lungs and the bronchial tree. Now zoom out and picture the lungs. They sit inside the thoracic cavity, the space in the chest. The lungs are soft, spongy organs. They are filled with branching airways and tiny air sacs. There are two lungs, the right lung and the left lung. But they are not exactly the same. The right lung has 3 lobes. The left lung has 2 lobes. Why is the left lung smaller? Because the heart sits slightly to the left side of the chest. The left lung has to leave room for it. That space creates a curved area called the cardiac notch. So picture it clearly. The right lung is larger, with 3 lobes. The left lung is smaller, with 2 lobes and space for the heart. Between the lungs is the mediastinum. This central space contains important structures, including the heart, trachea, and esophagus. The bronchi, blood vessels, and lymphatic vessels enter and leave the lungs through a region called the hilum. Think of the hilum as the doorway of the lung. Now go back inside the lungs. Picture the trachea splitting into the 2 primary bronchi. Each primary bronchus enters a lung. Then the branches divide. Primary bronchi become secondary bronchi. Secondary bronchi become tertiary bronchi. Tertiary bronchi lead into bronchioles. This branching structure is called the bronchial tree. The trachea is like the trunk. The bronchi are like large branches. The bronchioles are like tiny branches. And the alveoli are like clusters at the tips. Air moves from larger tubes to smaller tubes to tiny air sacs. The deeper the air goes, the smaller the passageways become. If this video helped you understand the respiratory system, please like and subscribe for more TEAS Science Review. And if you want to keep learning with clear, visual explanations, turn on notifications so you can follow along with the next lesson.